Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel for everything Arsenal and everything football. Thanks for being here. I hope you're all doing well. And thank goodness the international break is almost over. I can't stand watching those international games. We have our FPL back in a couple of days, and the Fantasy Tip Show is finally back. And I have the legend himself, Brett from FPL TV. On his Twitter, he says he's an average manager, but I don't think so. So, Brett, hi, man.
Hey Glenn, how you doing, bud?
I'm good, man. It's an honor to have you. It's like Mbappe and Ronaldo the other day when Mbappe grew up watching Ronaldo and they play together. It's kind of the same.
Not at all, man. No, it's a pleasure to be in your company and to be invited to your show. So, yeah, thanks, mate.
Thank you, man. So how's your season been so far?
Yeah, I wish I could join your show in more positive circumstances. Yeah, my team's not doing well at all, unfortunately, mate.
Yeah.
After a very bad season last year, I had a really, really shocking season. A couple of really solid ones, and then last year was a disaster.
Yeah.
And I kind of thought, you know what, this season I'm hoping for a positive change. I was looking forward to a fresh start, but it just hasn't gone well at all. So I'm 3.3 million at the moment, which is a really big red arrow for game week 4. And at the same time, I don't think my team is that bad. I've gone into the game weeks fairly positive, but I just think a couple of 50-50 decisions have really cost me quite a lot. The captaincy, has been quite costly. So I've captained De Bruyne the last 2 weeks and had 2 blanks in a row from him. And I think not trusting Everton, so I've got no Everton players, has been costly. No Calvert-Lewin, no Rodriguez. Going Harvey Barnes instead of Rodriguez in the same price has been quite a big difference in points there. And I think not having Tottenham players as well. So at the start of the season, I had sort of finished my draft and I had one decision left, and it was either Martial at 9 million to bring in for game week 2 or to go with Son at 9 million in midfield. And I was so keen on getting Martial because of his post-lockdown form last season. I really fancied Martial with Bruno behind him to start the season really well, but he's on 5 points now and Son's on 45, so that one little 50-50 is a 40-point difference. And that's like a game week. That's like a game week, at 40 points. I only got 37 this week. So I basically lost a game week behind the people that have got Son, So it's not gone well so far, but I'm hoping it's early days and hopefully I can bring it back.
Who has been your favorite or best asset so far this season?
Oh, not many, to be honest. I think just Mo Salah, to be honest. I know it sounds an easy one, but every other player that I've had has not really delivered. And when I was building my draft at the start of the season, I almost went without Salah. I almost thought, I'm going to put the funds elsewhere. And he got that hat-trick in game week 1. And that's probably the best moment of my season so far. So
that is probably my worst because I didn't consider him game week 1. In fact, since we did the show like 3 weeks ago, I still haven't gotten any United players, any Everton players, any City players. So it's a risk right now. But so far, they haven't really punished, especially the Manchester teams. And who has really bantered you so far this season? Which player did you expect a lot from? Is it Martial?
Yeah, I would say so. I did sell him this week, luckily, and he got the red card. So that was quite fortunate because when he got the assist in like the opening minute, I thought, oh, here we go. I've just sold Martial. Now he's going to punish me. So fortunately, I did sell him. I would say Werner has probably bantered me the most. I was really excited to start the season with Werner. And he just hasn't delivered really. To see him deployed on the left now, and I think game week 4 against Palace, for them to score 4 goals, him have 0 involvement. I got teased with a few penalties. I saw him pick up the ball for the penalty, he didn't take it. That was quite painful. And I think that game was his worst of the 4. I think he looked a bit lost in that game. So he's been the banter player for me.
And also him earning a penalty against Liverpool and Jorginho missing it. I'm sure that hurt too. I remember Barnes also last week. Barnes also scored in the last minute and it was disallowed. But the game I do remember was Davis, because we had done a show that week and you said you wanted Davis for the Newcastle game, and then the clean sheet went in the 97th minute. All I could think of was Brett. I was like, oh no, Davis clean sheet gone.
I know there has been a lot of that, mate. Yeah, the 97th minute penalty really hurt because Davis was on for 2 bonus points in that game as well. And all these points, they do make a difference, you know. That would have been 8 points instead of 2. Harvey Barnes, like you say, with that offside goal in the last minute in game week 4. I mean, that was such a marginal. It wasn't offside for me, you know. And like I say, you know, Harvey Barnes is a very similar price point to Rodriguez, and we're talking about big differences in total points now. You know, it's those little 50-50s have cost me a lot, really. So,
have you been tempted to play your wildcard?
100%, mate. 100% in this international break for sure. I wasn't for game week 4. I was happy to give my team another go because I was feeling confident about it. Foden and De Bruyne, you know, a lot of good fixtures there as well for the team. Now that they've done another bad game week in 4, and you know my team, Mitrovic is dropping, Werner's dropping, a lot of players are going down in value, and Calvert-Lewin is going up, and Son's going up. So of course I have been tempted, but I haven't done it, and I don't think I'm going to. I'm going to try and stay disciplined and not do it, only because the Premier League is so unpredictable at the moment. Yes, I could get in Calvert-Lewin, Rodriguez, Kane, Son, Grealish, get all these informed players, but what's to say the form guide completely changes now next week, and then I've used the wild card, and all these teams go off the boil, you know? So, you know, I think I'm going to hold strong and just see what happens next week.
I'm very much tempted to play it because I don't own any City, Liverpool players, so I'm really tempted. Plus the injuries and the suspensions, not sure if Man is back fully fit or fully recovered, and to start the game, I'm not quite sure. So, do you think with the international games and all the COVID situations coming up from now, do you think this season we now have to wait until like Saturday morning to make our transfers?
For sure, mate. And that's exactly what I've done. And it has been hard to do that because of all the price changes. You know, I really wanted to make some early moves and save money. But for the exact reason you've just said, I thought, you know, there's a lot of uncertainty with self-isolation. Like Ronaldo's got it now, and it is like the Wolves team, you know, a lot of players, they're going to get it. It's a bit of a concern, you know. So that I am going to save my transfer until Friday or Saturday for sure. And I'm just taking the price changes on the head, you know, which is a bit painful. And on that point as well, it's another reason why I might keep the wild card, because if this gets worse and worse and loads of players get it in a couple of weeks, then it's even more uncertainty, you know. So it's tricky.
True. So we're going to focus on the wildcard for the ones who are playing the wildcard because it's an international break and most people will play, probably myself too. So goalkeepers, Brett, which goalkeepers are you? I think you have McCarthy?
I've got McCarthy at the moment, yeah.
I do have McCarthy too. So if you're playing your wildcard today, which goalkeeper would you go for?
I think I would still stay on the cheap side of things. And I like the look of Aston Villa's fixtures longer term. So I still like Martinez in goal. I've been happy with McCarthy, you know, since Southampton got hammered, you know, by Spurs, they've pulled out 2 clean sheets, which has been decent. But I've been quite impressed with Villa so far. They look a lot better at the back this season, and they've got a great run of long-term fixtures, you know, right up until like game week 16. So right up until we get that second wild card in the new year, I think he's a good set and forget, you know. From now until the end of the year, I think. What about you?
Probably sticking with McCarthy. So, which side are you usually on? Are you in the side of having 2 playing goalkeepers, or 1 playing goalkeeper and 1 who doesn't play?
Normally, I'm on the side of just having 1. But that doesn't mean it's the right side, because I do like the idea of rotating home fixtures and trying to bank those clean sheets with better fixtures, because some teams do rotate fixtures really well. But at the moment, with home form not really mattering anyway, you know, it's just one less headache. And for me personally, because I overthink things at the best of times, I'm trying not to give myself too much like decision fatigue. And that's just me personally, because if I've got too many decisions to make in one game week, I end up just losing the plot, you know. So it's better just to pick one and just forget about it, because sometimes you rotate them and you're on the wrong end of it anyway, you know.
I wanted to ask about Adrian. I also saw someone asking about Adrian. Since Alisson is out for a couple of weeks, can you consider him for a couple of games?
I don't like. I never want to say no to any player. It's obviously a good opportunity at 4.5 million to get into the Liverpool defence, which is one of the only defences I trust, even though they shipped 7 goals to Aston Villa last week. And we had this opportunity last season, but I just think he's a transfer waiting to happen. Then, you know, when Alisson comes back, it's just another transfer you're going to have to worry about further down the line. And look, the one game he's played so far, they did ship 7 goals, and he was at fault for one of them. He made a big mistake. So, I don't think so. You know, Everton away in the next fixture, Man City away in game week 8 before Alisson comes back. I'm not too sure on that. I'd rather pick a longer term option, but I would never say not to do it because it is a nice opportunity.
Yeah, so McCarthy would be your first choice, and how about your second choice?
I think Martinez would be my first choice.
Martinez,
at Aston Villa. My second choice, it probably would be McCarthy because he's done a decent job so far. So I've got no complaints there.
So those are your 2 goalkeepers. I think I'd probably go for the same. There's a time I used to like Ryan, but as I've always said, these days they don't really play defensively. Ramsdale, not sure about Sheffield too these days.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I was very keen on Ramsdale to begin the season, but they just look like one of the teams to beat at the moment, don't they? Like they're like an easy fixture at the moment. Sheffield United, they're the team that I'd like to target because they just look very poor at the moment.
Yeah, true. So those are your 2 goalkeepers, and we can now get into the defenders. I remember when you did the show the other day, and Kat said he's going without any Liverpool defenders, and I actually agreed because I don't see them looking good this season. Yes, attacking returns, but defensively, are you still considering any Liverpool defenders? Alexander-Arnold still?
For sure, mate. Personally, always. I'll always have one. I'd be surprised if I go any week without at least one throughout the season. I still think they'll come good, and there's just no other team that's screaming out to me that I can trust for clean sheets more than them. Look, I know with Adrian in goal and shipping 7 goals to Villa, it does look very bad. No doubt about that. But when I look at my team, I think Trent is one of the least of my worries, you know. He's in there for the long run. I would probably take Robertson over him at this point because he has looked a bit more dangerous. So if I was on a wild card, I'd probably go Robertson. But not worth a transfer, you know. I'm going to keep Trent. And look, game week 6 at home to Sheffield United, I'm liking the look of that for a clean sheet. And just longer term, you know. The attacking returns are great, and I just don't know who else to turn to for clean sheets anyway. So that's my opinion. I just feel safer with Trent in my team. And look, he's hit the bar in the last game, I think, or the game before. He's always threatening, you know. So, I mean, what about yourself? Are you not too keen? Are you still not keen on them?
Last season, I did have Robertson for a couple of games, but every time I press that buy button for Trent or Robo, I'm like, no, man, this 2 million can be taken to midfield, and I can upgrade Bissouma to someone 6 million, 7 million. I'm like, nah, these guys will not deliver every single week. Plus, now the goals are going in, penalties, clean sheets just disappearing from nowhere. So why pick someone like Trent when I can pick one of the best right backs in the league right now, Lamptey? Have you considered him?
Of course, mate. Yeah, if I was on a wild card, he'd almost certainly be in there. Because I've got other problems, I've not had the luxury of transferring out Ben Davis yet. If I was to transfer out Ben Davis, then Lamptey would be one of the first ones to come in for sure. You know, the early substitutions do worry me a little bit, but for his price and just from the eye test alone, he has looked so exciting and so attacking that you can't argue at 4.7 million. You know, he does look so quality.
Good point on the substitutions, but at least once I think he was injured, then he was taken off. But
probably a bit unlucky there.
That's the only problem. But their fixtures are quite good. I think they have Crystal Palace and like 2-3 good games in a row. So I'd probably consider him. And the next one to ask you about was the Tottenham defender, Reguilon.
Okay. Yeah.
Will he be affected by Davis?
I don't think so. It's hard to say, you know. Only the manager knows that. It's very hard to play these sort of guessing games. But he's looked pretty promising since he's come in. I mean, the only thing that does concern me is that, you know, watching that Spurs documentary, you can tell that Mourinho does like Ben Davies, and that was one of the reasons that I brought him in the first place, because I know he quite favours Ben Davies. But but Reguilon has looked quite promising since he's come in. And look, their next 4 fixtures are arguably the best of any team. The next 4 look so good. I can't argue with that pick. At 5.5, I mean, I never trust the Spurs defence. Look, it sounds rich because I brought in Ben Davies, and they did have promising defensive stats post lockdown. With a lot of very few big chances conceded, that kind of thing. But I mean, I don't think they've kept a clean sheet so far this season, have they? So that's a bit of a worry.
His attacking returns tempt me, though. Like, he went forward so many times against United, beat they had 10 men. I'm actually considering him. I know we hate Tottenham and all, but I'm really considering 3 Tottenham assets at the same time, and he's one of them. And any other defenders are considering?
Anymore? I mean, the defence is such a tricky topic at the moment because there's just so very few clean sheets about. Look, maybe Chilwell might seem like an obvious shout, after his massive haul in the previous game week. He's obviously going to replace Alonso. There's no doubt that he's going to be nailed on at left back for a while, you'd think. So I do quite like Chilwell, but again, Chelsea, another team that I don't trust for clean sheets.
True.
So
I'm actually considering the 2 of them, Chilwell and the Tottenham defender. I'm considering both of them. If I'm going to go for 2 defenders who are probably going to play every week, I'm going to pick them ahead of Liverpool defenders. The 7 million is just too far for me. So the 5.5 is quite okay. So
that's the thing.
3. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, no, I do think you make a good point, because like it is a 2 million saving, and if we can't, one's 2 million, or 2 of them are 2 million cheaper than the other. So 2 million is a lot of money. So I can certainly understand why you'd go Chilwell and Reguilon for their attacking returns rather than Trent, for example.
Yeah, so 3 defenders, your top picks for wildcard, 3 defenders.
I'm still going to back a Liverpool defender personally. So if I was wildcard and I'd still have one, I'd probably go Robertson. Just because he's getting so far forward, lots of touches in the box, whereas Trent puts in lots of crosses, Robertson always gets into the box. I love that. And I do like a couple of fixtures coming up longer term as well. Until like game week 16 or 18, Liverpool do have some good fixtures. Lamptey, I think, as well. And then probably Chilwell. They would be my 3.
I think I'll consider 2 from there. So let's get into the best position in FPL, the midfield position. So many options. The Aubameyangs, the Salahs, the Manes, the Sons. Which one are you picking, man? Which one are you picking if you are the wildcard?
If I wildcarded now, I'd of course keep Mo Salah. He wouldn't be going anywhere for me.
Ahead of Mane?
Ahead of Mane. Yeah, that's look. It's always a coin flip with those 2. The only appeal with Mane now is that he is a bit cheaper, which at the start of the season we didn't have, and that 0.3, 0.4 can go a long way sometimes. I just think with Salah on penalties and just the way he's looked so far this season, he looks like a man on a mission so far. Even losing 7-2 and him getting both goals. I'm just really liking the look of Salah so far. So I think he's a bit of a no-brainer. I wouldn't be moving him anywhere. I think James Rodriguez is a no-brainer as well. I just think he's a no-brainer at the moment. Everton's fixtures do look decent. I know they've got Liverpool next, which is a tricky one, but after that, they look okay. And they just really surprised me this season because of his price range. I feel like the way Rodriguez is playing at the moment, he's a player that next season will be like 8.59 million, and we'll be like, wow, I can't believe he was 7.5 last season. Like, that's kind of how I feel it's going to be. A bit like when Bruno was like 8.5 last year, and like it's hard to believe he was 8.5, when you see how good he is now. So I think Rodriguez is probably one. You know he's going to play every game. He's going to be involved in so much. He's got so much protection behind him that he's going to be the main creator in that team, which is always good.
He's one of those players that, like Salah, if you don't own him and you're watching the game, it's just scary for the whole 90 minutes because the free kicks, the corners, every time he's close to assist, every time he's close to scoring a goal. So he's definitely one. But the one thing I'd say is that they actually played Chile yesterday in South America. So could he play the early kickoff on Saturday?
That's a good point, Glenn. Yeah, I've read some stuff on Twitter about him being doubtful for that, actually. And with me not having him at the moment, I'm actually hoping he doesn't play, of course. That would be a nice little reprieve. So, yeah, maybe on a wild card, there's longer term, he's a great option. Maybe there's argument not to get him this week just in case of that. And it is Liverpool, which isn't the best fixture.
Yeah.
You know, I could understand if you didn't get him. That's one of the reasons why I might not get Calvert-Lewin or Rodriguez this week, just because it's Liverpool. And I don't know, maybe it's an excuse not to have them for this week. For me, Jack Grealish as well would be nailed on. I think I'd have to get Grealish. A very similar reason to Rodriguez. He's just pivotal to how they play. Their fixtures are arguably some of the best over the next 10 game weeks. It's hard to ignore the points he's got already. Obviously, he's not going to get 24 points every game week. That was a bit of a anomaly, of course. It's ironic because Grealish was a player that I was looking at a couple of weeks ago. And part of me in my head was thinking, right, I hope Grealish stays quiet now for a couple of game weeks, because from game week maybe 6 onwards, or 5 from 6 onwards, that's where I might get Grealish in. And then he gets 24 points against Liverpool, you know, and then everyone gets him in. So it's like he's no longer under the radar, that's for sure. But
it was 24 points heading to like 30, not 24 points from nowhere. He had chances. He was in very good positions, of course, deflections and stuff, but he looked very good. And another player who looked good was Barkley.
Yeah. So what are you thinking on Barkley then? Is he like an actual consideration for you? Have you seen enough to consider him?
I'm considering him, but how many Aston Villa players can you have? I'm really liking Grealish. I'm liking Watkins. Barkley, I'm not sure he'll play every day because of his injuries and stuff. But if I was to, like, if they had their next fixtures, I think they also have Leeds somewhere, like 2-3 good fixtures.
Leeds at home in game week 6, Southampton at home in game week 7, Arsenal away game week 8, and then Brighton at home game week 9. You know, a lot of good home fixtures there.
Arsenal away is tough. Arsenal away is a tough one for them, obviously. But at home to Leeds and at home to Southampton, I'm seeing a lot of goals in those games, and I don't know who's on penalties. Grealish. That one is, I think so. That one's still up for a debate, really, because Watkins was on penalties at Brentford, I think. I could be tempted. I could be tempted to play like all 3 of them in 2 or 3 of those fixtures if I play my WildCard. I'll be very, very tempted. I know it's a risk, but they're very cheap. If you look at if you look at just home fixtures, so their next home fixtures are Leeds at home, Southampton at home, Brighton at home, Newcastle at home, Burnley at home, Palace at home, with West Brom away in between. Some good fixtures there. And I don't know if you've noticed, but today FPL have updated their FDR ratings. You know, the color coded ratings. And there's not many 2 ratings anymore. There's lots of grey fixtures, but Aston Villa, still so many greens there, you know, just so many. Even away to Leicester, I'm expecting a goal first, maybe a 3-2. So we could still see the goals. They've conceded 7 goals in the last 3. So I've got James Justin. I'm not expecting a clean sheet against Villa. Yeah, but that's another player. That's another player I forgot to talk about defensively. Justin and Castagne, definitely good options. What about De Bruyne? If you're playing your WildCard today, is he a must-own? Because also him is a doubtful for this weekend. Yeah, it's one of those, Glenn, where if I didn't have De Bruyne, I would say yes, he's a must-own. But then because I've had him and he's blanked twice and now he's injured and he's sort of trolling me a little bit, I'm sort of like, have I brought him in at the wrong time now? And have I made a mistake? You know, he's got to be a must-own, you know, from last season. And he's one of those players that last season, look, I tried to get clever and I got rid of De Bruyne when he was 50% owned.
and it just came back to bite me so heavily. And I had to get him back, and so this season I thought, don't get too clever, get De Bruyne from game week 3, don't even think about it. And now I find myself being quite unlucky with the captaincy blanks. I still think he's got to be a must-own. I would still find it hard to go without him, but maybe that's the wrong move. It's tough. He got double-digit hauls against Arsenal in both games last season. He likes playing against Arsenal, but whether he'll be fit.
Thanks for reminding me. Thank you for reminding me.
Sorry about that, mate.
we have Thomas Partey there now. He really did run our midfield last season, but we have Thomas Partey now. Blanks in both this time round. In case, thank you everyone for watching. In case you don't know, this is Brett from FPL TV, the legend, and we're just taking a look at the wildcard so far. If you have any questions, just put it in the chat and we'll answer it at the end. And my next midfielder, Brett, is going to be Zaha. Now, this is one that this is actually probably my transfer for this week. Their fixtures are very, very good.
Interesting. Okay, so you're saying that if you don't wildcard, he's going to be your transfer in, is he? Or
he is going to be my transfer in, probably for Barnes. I know Barnes is facing Aston Villa, but against Brighton, the derby and stuff, I can actually see him doing really well. Although he was asked the other day with a fan on Twitter if he should be picked, and he actually said no. That just shows me he knows he's going to score big. So I'm definitely considering it. Has he been in your thoughts?
He hasn't, mate. If I'm honest, he hasn't really. But maybe he should be. Just because he hasn't been in my thoughts doesn't mean it's wrong to go for him for sure. Looking at his fixtures, they look very, very good. Brighton at home, Fulham away, Leeds at home, Newcastle, Burnley away, West Brom. There's lots of nice games there. And like you say, this Brighton derby, he scored in that game last season as well. It is a big derby for these two. It's not a very well-known derby, but there's a lot of animosity there between the two teams. It's quite a competitive game. So he'll be fired up for that one for sure. He's been playing out of position. He's playing up front for a midfielder. I can't argue with the pick at all. I really can't for that price. It's such a difficult bracket because at 7 million around that price, you've got Grealish, Rodriguez. It's hard to have them all. But he's a solid pick with those fixtures for sure. And he is the main man for Palace. If they're going to score, it's likely he's the one that's going to be involved.
As you can see, he definitely doesn't think so. He was asked that question and he said no. So that's why I'm going for him. I feel like he's going to do well. So Zaha for me, definitely. How about Fernandes, Brett? There's a lot going on at Man U with him, with Solskjaer. He could actually miss the game since what happened to Ronaldo. So is it okay to still go without him?
Yeah, it's mad talking through all these midfielders because there's so many good options and we haven't even got to Son yet either, I don't think. So with Fernandes, look, with FPL, like recency bias is such a big thing. So it's very easy to talk about all the form players. And it's very easy to say avoid Fernandes because he hasn't been in form particularly. But I don't think he's a must-own at the moment. Just like he's ticked over quite well. I think he's scored 2 penalties, hasn't he, so far? And he's got an assist.
One after the whistle.
Yeah, that
one
was
after the final whistle. That was so annoying.
It was annoying because he got 3 bonus for that as well, and it was quite against Brighton. That was quite a jammy 12-point haul. Quite a lucky one. He didn't really deserve 12 points to be fair. But that's just me being bitter. I just think with the way United are as a whole at the moment, the atmosphere is low, and it's never good to bring in players that have this aura of negativity around them. So whereas Spurs have this positivity and they're all playing really well, it's a very hard sell to get Fernandes at the moment, I think. Their fixtures aren't great. They're in the next 4, they've got Chelsea, Arsenal and Everton in back-to-back games. It's a tricky game. Like you say, we got this uncertainty on the the Ronaldo thing as well, and if he's going to have to isolate. And at the start of the season, I wanted to build my team around Fernandes, De Bruyne and Salah. That was the initial plan. But I realized quickly I couldn't really afford all 3. And Fernandes was the one that I thought, I'm okay going without him, because I looked at the underlying stats, and as superb as he was, his point conversion in FPL was crazy. It was almost like it couldn't be sustainable because he got so many points in so little games. I thought De Bruyne, his stats were so much better, for chances created, that kind of thing. And you can't always rely on penalties. Annoyingly, he has so far, which is frustrating. 2 goals, 2 penalties. But I think for his price at the moment, there's just better value out there, especially with what's going on at United. What do you think about Fernandes?
I've never considered him, but the penalties every time it's scary because it feels like Rashford, Martial, and Greenwood, in terms of winning penalties for that team, they are very good. And those fixtures you've mentioned, it feels like the only way they're going to score again is going to be a penalty. So it wouldn't be a surprise if they got a penalty in each of those games, Arsenal, Chelsea. So that really scares me because it just takes one person, handball, 6 points, and that's it. So it's really scary not owning him. And some players not really impressed this season. I want to ask you about 2 more midfielders. Havertz, has he been in your thoughts this season? Because I've never really considered Chelsea players.
Honestly, not at all, mate. There was maybe a 5-minute moment before the season started where I had, I got drawn into the hype a little bit because of his price tag and how big of a star he's meant to be. As soon as I watched him, he's not been on my radar at all. Doesn't mean to say he's not a good pick. Doesn't mean to say he's not a great player. But just watching him, his style is very lethargic. The way he moves around, it's very it's stylish and stuff. And he's obviously a quality player. But when I watch him, I just think, if I had him in my team, I'd be frustrated. Just the way he plays doesn't really thrill me. Doesn't excite me enough. He's not in the box enough. And that's just my opinion anyway. What do you think about him?
I agree. It reminds me of Arsenal's Pepe. There's a time I owned Pepe last season, and he has the ball so many times, a lot of skills, but he'll not return what you want. So that's the same way I feel with Havertz. Plus, I didn't actually think those fixtures were easy for them, like Brighton away, Southampton at home, although he returned in that game. Crystal Palace at home, West Brom, I was scared not owning him that week. With Van, I expected them to score a bunch of goals, but we were lucky that the likes of Abraham actually got the goals. But he's one player I've really never considered now. A player that I've really considered, but I actually owned him in game week 1 and 2, Son, including those 4 goals away to Southampton. That was really good. But I transferred him out because of an injury that FPL lied to us about, and we missed out on those points against United.
Who did you bring in for him?
For Son, Barnes actually brought on Barnes for game week 4 against West Ham.
Yeah, that's really unlucky then. That goal at the end of Barnes must have been a really painful one.
It was painful.
Especially because some people went from Son to Rodriguez and it kind of worked out all right then, I feel for you on that one for sure. Son, for some people, I've not had him yet, but for some people, they've transferred him out for the goals and transferred him in for the blanks, Son, for me, I don't use my wild card. He's the one player that if I do make transfers this week, it'll be to get him in, basically. I do really want to get Son in. It's not just his form, it's quite a personal thing. I just really rate Son. I just think he's an amazing player. And when I talk about Havertz looking quite lethargic, Son's the opposite. He's so energetic and he's always involved and he's quite greedy at times as well. He loves to shoot. When he's on form, he's just incredible. I just really love the player, The fixtures look amazing. He was underpriced this season. To go from 9.5 down to 9, that was always like, wow, this could be great value. That won't be that for long. Yeah, he's high on the radar for me this week for sure.
Yeah, it's actually between him and Zaha to come into my team this week, but I'm really considering the wildcard, so he might actually come on. I think he's gone up to 9.1 now. Yesterday
he did. So, how would you get Son in?
Bro, I usually don't like minus. As I told you guys on FPL wildcards, I usually don't like taking hits. So it actually would be Aubameyang, unfortunately, against City, and bring on Son against West Ham. Yeah, because I don't think we'll get that many goals against City. So Aubameyang probably out for Son, but I'm really considering the wildcard, so I might have like 7-8 changes. Yeah. So let's get to this. Okay, 3 midfielders that you must own. I'm assuming Son. Who else? 2?
Yeah, I would go Salah, Son, and then Rodriguez.
Awesome. So the strikers now, the first ones we'll talk about, Mopey from Brighton. Good fixtures too.
Yeah, what do you think about Mopey?
For me, yes, because I think he's on penalties. That's another thing. That's why I like him too. And also him, Brighton these days, they play such attacking football. I couldn't believe my eyes when I was watching them against United. The number of chances Mopey and Trossard got, I was just like, wow, these guys are playing some really good. I never thought I'd be scared of not owning a Brighton striker, but Mopey is definitely one that I would consider. As I've said, Crystal Palace, Brighton, it won't be such a high-scoring game, but maybe it gets some goals. So Mopey, definitely, if I'm playing a wildcard, he wouldn't be in the first 3 choices, but maybe in the top 5 choices that I'd consider. I still fancy Watkins ahead of him and the likes of Kane and Vardy maybe.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, he's not a player that I've really considered much, but there is a lot to like there, like you say, and there's no doubt Brighton, like you said, are very attacking. And that's why I haven't been so drawn to their defenders much, because under Potter they are playing much more fluid football. Getting forward, and Mopey is at the front of that, and I really rate Trossard. And with Trossard there, he's quite a creative player as well. And with Mopey on penalties, West Brom in game week 6 at home looks a good one. Tottenham next, after that they're conceding goals. Burnley at home, they're out of sorts. So there's some good fixtures there for sure. So I definitely rate the pick, at that price range. But I think there's a lot in that price. It's a tough one.
Having the wild card is a good thing, but it's usually so stressful because there's so many people you're considering. I know you like Jimenez. What have you thought about Jimenez? I know he let you down against Fulham. Did you bring him in against Fulham?
I did, mate. I did. I brought in Jimenez for Martial. And when I weighed up, when I make a transfer, I like to weigh up the positives and negatives, like a little list of reasons why and why not. And the list of reasons to get Jimenez was so much bigger than to keep Martial. Better fixtures, longer term. On penalties, Martial isn't cheaper than Martial. In better form because he had scored more goals, and his performances in general were better. So everything pointed to getting Son in, and he had Fulham. Not Son, Jimenez in, and he had Fulham at home. The perfect fixture, So disappointed not to get returns in that one because Fulham just looked so poor defensively. It kind of paid off because Martial got 1 point, Jimenez got 2. Great. But when I brought in Jimenez, I keep telling myself when I make a transfer and I bring in a player, I've got to look at it in 4 or 5 game weeks and measure the success over that amount of time. If you bring in a player and hope it pays off straight away, and then you get annoyed and transfer them back out, you're going to get into a bad pattern of just constantly chopping and changing. And so I'm trying to be more committed. And I said to myself, right, if I bring Jimenez in and he blanks, I'm not going to just get annoyed and get rid of him. I've got to give him 4 or 5 game weeks because Jimenez can score against anyone. Jimenez doesn't really matter about his fixtures, so and he's got good ones even. So disappointed that he hasn't returned. Would I keep him on a wild card? That's a tough one. I probably would, but I'm going to give him something.
There's so many other strikers. My strikers have done well for me. Wilson and Ings, I can't complain about them. They've scored goals, like at least 4 or 5 goals. Players. I've had these players. I remember Wilson gave you a headache like 2 seasons ago when you used to cry about him. I do remember that at Bournemouth. So him scoring those goals, it was a good punt for me to get him in the first game week. But this guy, Harry Kane, I can't see him going without goals in the next few games, especially West Ham. I can see him getting even a hat-trick in that game.
Yeah, I know. At the start of the season, I was quite happy going without Kane. But every season is different. Last season, we had Kane at like 11.5 million. And I think Vardy was 9.5. And I said to myself at the start, Vardy will keep up with Kane for 2 million cheaper. And I kind of felt the same this season. That I could find strikers, as good as Harry Kane is, I was convinced I would find strikers that can perform the same amount as him, FPL-wise, at a cheaper price. That was the goal. But at the moment, he does look on fire. And he is such an FPL legend. with Harry Kane, I love owning and captaining Kane. Like, he's a bit like Salah for me, where I always feel excited when I captain him against anyone. It's like a comfort blanket. I can captain Kane and I think, it's Kane, you know? So I didn't want this headache because I was happy to go without him, really. But now he does look incredible. Are you know, I guess on your wild card, he's a no-brainer.
Yeah, it'll be straight in. I'll actually go for 3 Spurs assets at once. I mean, I hate them, but the good thing is if they don't score, I'm happy. If they score, it works for my FPL. So Kane, definitely. I feel like he's going to score a hat-trick this weekend. I just have a feeling. And the penalties, the way they looked so good with Son in the Southampton game and United game, both away, they can do well away from home at home. So definitely. One striker that is an FPL legend, speaking of FPL legends, Aguero is almost back.
Yes, he is. What are you thinking towards Aguero?
Not sure as of now. I wouldn't get him because I don't know if they've gelled well. Plus his injuries. You know, the thing with Aguero, I feel like if it wasn't for the injuries, I think he'd have already passed Alan Shearer's goals by now because those injuries have really affected him. He always scores goals, no matter the opponent. Doesn't matter the opponent. Doesn't matter the ground. Header, penalties, tap-ins, everything. So with Jesus also being injured, you might actually consider him, but not as of now.
Yeah, his goals to minutes or goals to game ratio is ridiculous. It's a travesty that he's only been in team of the season once, I think. I just can't believe that. Yeah, he's no doubt one of the best ever players in the Premier League for me. I guess the one thing with Aguero, it's another good reason to have Kane on a wild card or have him in your team. Because look, you can have Kane for the next couple of game weeks. The likelihood is he's going to do great. If he doesn't, he's an easy move to Aguero if you want in a couple of game weeks' time, you know, if he starts doing well. So you've got that luxury of getting those in with one simple transfer to get Aguero from Kane. So, Aguero is not one that I'm worried about at the moment. Like you said, he's not fit at the moment, and you know, with whether you'll come back to fitness, that kind of thing. But if I had Kane, he's a nice little option there to bring in further down the line.
Yeah, so that you don't make it too long. 3 strikers that you're considering, of course, we've not even talked about Vardy and DCL. The 3 top strikers you'd get?
Sorry, mate, I'm probably talking too much here. If I was on a wild card, I would probably go... It's really tough, mate. There's so many. I'd probably go Kane, Calvert-Lewin, and maybe Callum Wilson for the longer-term fixtures. But it's a tough one.
I've considered dropping him for Watkins, but he's scored goals for me, and I can see him scoring against United. He's on penalties, so I can't really complain about him.
I like that United fixture. I do like the United fixture for him, to be honest. It's a good time to play United at the moment.
It's a good time to play United for sure. So the must-own players, if you're playing a wildcard today, in general, all positions, which 3 players you definitely go for?
Son, without question, would be in there for his price and his fixtures. He's like a no-brainer. I don't want to say Kane as well, because the reason I'm reluctant to play the wild card is to bank on Spurs so much and then have them let me down against West Ham, who have looked okay the last few games. They've kept 2 clean sheets, I think. It's a North London derby. It's a London derby, sorry. And West Ham actually do turn up against Spurs a lot of the time. So if I'm going to go must-own players, I just go one maybe for Spurs just to spread my bets. Go for Son. I think Rodriguez or Calvert-Lewin, one of the 2 from Everton, just because of the way they're playing. So again, one of those 2 I think is needed. And then, I know it sounds safe, but probably Salah. But probably Salah still. They would be the 3 I would build my team around. Salah, and then one of Kane or Son, and one of Rodriguez and Calvert-Lewin. They would be like nailed on. What about yourself?
I'm going to go for Kane and Son, both of them. I know West Ham do give them a tough fixture, even for United. West Ham always give those 2 teams tough fixtures, but it's not a tough fixture with a clean sheet. It's a tough fixture with a 3-2 win. And those 2 goals will probably come from Kane and Son. So both of them. And if I'm playing my wildcard tonight, I'm going to bring both of them. Calvert-Lewin probably, but that Liverpool fixture puts me off. Last season it ended 0-0.
Yes. Yeah, I'm hoping for the same because I haven't got them. But at the same time,
Yeah,
I guess you do have to think about longer term, you know?
Yeah. Let's get to the new signings. Any new signing you're considering? I'm waiting for Bale to come on. If Bale comes on, I'm sure him, Kane, and Son, they'll be working good together. The other one, maybe, obviously, for us, Thomas Partey won't really score the goals and stuff, so I'm not expecting much. Maybe Watkins, of course, is a new signing. So maybe Watkins and Bale when Bale is fit. Any others?
Yeah, you've named a few there that I was definitely going to mention Bale for sure, which is another reason why I'm like, shall I hold the wild card to see how these players that we still haven't seen come into the fray? You know, Ziyech and Bale and even Cavani. You never know, might come into the fray. You know, so definitely Bale. Of course, being a Welshman myself as well, I'm really excited just to see Bale in the Premier League again. That'll be so exciting for me. Watkins, like you said, with their fixtures is a very good option as well. I think he's like 5.96 million. So great bargain option there. Ryan Brewster at 4.5 million. You know, if I was on a wild card now, and maybe if I was going to look at 5 in midfield, if I was going to go like Rodriguez, Grealish, Salah, Son, etc., then Brewster, it looks like a very nice budget 4.5 million option, even if he's on the bench, you know, as your first bench option. And if I was to get Son in this week, then I would maybe downgrade Werner to Brewster and then upgrade Basuma to Son for a -4. Fulham at home in game week 5. So a very nice fixture for his debut. They're going to rely on someone to score goals for them. And at 4.5 for a starting striker who's a promising young player, it's a bit of a bargain at 4.5, you know? What do you think?
Yeah, we've been limited to very few 4.5 strikers this season. Last season we had Greenwood, we had Nketiah, but they're very expensive this season. So apart from Oliver Buck, I think that's his name, and Brewster, those are the only ones who can really play. I'm not sure if Brewster will go straight into the team, but probably a good option for now.
Yeah. Like I said, even for your bench, you know, if De Bruyne doesn't play and you've got Brewster first sub, fantastic, you know.
The thing I don't like with the strikers, too much rotation. They have like 4 or 5 strikers, too much rotation, plus halftime subs, and Sheffield will not really score 3 goals this season in a game. So I'm not really considering them.
That's fair. No, that's fair, Glenn. If he was more expensive, I would.
I also wanted to ask you about, I know he's not a new signing, but Mitrovic. I know I had Mitrovic in the first 2 weeks. I think you also had him. Have you dropped him already?
I haven't, mate. I've still got him. Another player that
Sheffield game.
That's one reason that I'm staying hopeful and keeping him, and one reason why it's so easy to look at my team and pull the wild card. Like I could easily just wild card now, but I could so easily wild card and then it backfire, and then the players that I sold that score. You know, 4 game weeks is a short time. Mitrovic is cheap. He's on penalties. Sheffield United could be the perfect game for him because it's going to be quite a physical battle. And Sheffield United are not very good defensively at the moment. So I am hopeful for Mitrovic in this game. I don't feel...
battle.
Yeah.
I don't like the word physical battle. With John Egan, I can see a red card for both of them. Egan already cost me a red card, so I'm really fearful. So he could get a red card. But let's get into the fixtures for this week. 10 fixtures. Which game are you looking forward to most? Which game are you really going to be watching?
What, just in terms of general?
Yeah,
viewing?
your FPL players, yeah.
Oh, FPL
in terms
players.
of FPL, yeah. Which game are you focusing most? Is it Everton, Liverpool? Is it City, Arsenal, West Brom, Burnley?
Probably Spurs, West Ham. Just because we're all very excited about Son and Kane, and even though I don't have them, I'll be interested to see how they do in that game.
Yeah.
And it's a London derby. It's always quite a feisty affair, that one. Of course, the Merseyside derby is exciting too. But they're unpredictable. They don't often... Hopefully, they offer lots of goals on the weekend, you know, this early kickoff. But in the past, there's the Everton-Liverpool recently, I think, are quite low scoring. So,
I
would say Spurs, West Ham. What about yourself?
I think I'd go for the same. Definitely in terms of FPL and in terms of watching the game, I'll not be watching West Brom and Burnley. That has 0-0 written all over it. So
I
this
hope
is
so.
probably
I've
the
got
best
Charlie
game.
Taylor.
That's a 0-0. That's already 6 points banked. If you could also get Pope, because that is a 0-0. So captains for this week, Brett. Which three captains would you consider this week? Doesn't have to be the top players. Anyone. Who would you consider?
Okay, so if I had Son or Kane, I know we've talked about them loads, but I'd probably go for one of those two as captain. They're not in my team at the moment. So initially I was going to captain De Bruyne for a third straight week of pain. But now with this injury out, you know, I'm probably just going to default to Mo Salah. I don't know if I feel good about it. I know it's not an ideal fixture. I agree. You know, in my team, it's either Salah, De Bruyne, or Jimenez against Leeds. I don't see any other standout options that I feel comfortable in captaining. You know, Wolves haven't impressed that much the last two games.
Yeah.
Mo Salah, he's just a reliable option. You know, it's always like if he blanks, you always feel a little bit unlucky about it. If he blanks, he blanks, but it's a safe, sensible option. Away to Everton's not a great fixture, I know, which is another reason why I might take a -4 and get Son and just captain him. I'm not too sure. But yeah, I usually don't
like hits. If you bring on Son, who would you take out?
I've got the choice basically. So I've got two options. I either downgrade Werner to Calvert-Lewin, and that frees up enough money to go Harvey Barnes up to Son for a -4.
Yeah.
Or I downgrade Werner to Ryan Brewster all the way down to a bench option, and then I upgrade Basuma and go 3-5-2, and I keep Harvey Barnes for a week then, which puts more money into midfield and keeps, you know, a spot open there for Grealish or Rodriguez, that kind of thing. I'm just scared to sell Barnes and him punish me, basically. So I just hate taking the hit when Barnes and Werner could do well this week. Werner, Ziyech and Pulisic coming back. Will that see him move central again? He just scored and assisted for Germany. You know, there's an argument just to not do anything for my team and just give them another try. But what do you think? Do you think I should move for Son and take the -4? Or
I usually don't like hits because there's also a chance of Son blanking and Barnes scoring. The only time I can consider a hit is when a player is injured and I have like 2-3 injuries. Players I know who are not going to play. And or when during game week 30-31, when we have 4 fixtures and you only have like 8 players who are going to play, then I can take a hit. But right now, I don't really think so. Plus, he also has Aston Villa at home. So I think he'll score. So Salah, and which other two would you go for, captains?
Yeah, Son and Kane, I think, but I think those two are the obvious ones, really.
I'm still going to mention Zaha again. I think he's going to do well in the Brighton game. I just have this feeling. I dreamt like Neem. I think this one will have a good game. Zaha and probably, I am not really considering Liverpool right now. Zaha and probably Son and Kane too, both of them. And maybe even Aurier if he starts at Tottenham defender. He gets forward so many times, he always scares me. So maybe that's those three. Gem of the week, which is your differential? Who is your differential for the week? Just one player out of the blue.
Okay. All right, this is off the top of my head now. So what would you class as like a differential? Like what percentage are we looking at?
Under 5%.
5%. Right. How much? I think Callum Wilson's got quite a few owners now, hasn't he? 13%.
Yeah, I think he has. Yeah, I think it's more than 10%.
I think Callum Wilson at home to United is a cheeky option, but like you say, he is 13% owned. What is Zaha? 20%. Wow, that's a lot more than I realized. Okay. Okay, I'll tell you what. I'll go for, as an outside pick, I'll go for Matías Pereira of West Brom.
I was going to go for the same guy. I was just about to say, I know I've said 0-0, but I think he'll do well. I was actually going to go for the same option. That's crazy. So, yeah. Pereira, do you think he can get something?
I do. It goes back to like other players that we've mentioned. Like he is the one that if West Brom are going to do something, he'll be the one that's involved. You know, he's such a classy player. His stats in the Championship were amazing last year. 20 fantasy assists he had because he won a few penalties, that kind of thing. 8 goals as well. He can score from free kicks. I think he's on set pieces, that kind of thing. And Burnley, at the start of the season, I looked at Burnley as a team that were going to keep clean sheets and, keep it tight.
Yeah.
They just don't look because Ben Mee is injured, a long-serving centre back. They didn't have Tarkowski as well for a little bit. I look at Burnley now as a good fixture at the moment. I think that's a good fixture for West Brom. So I've got Charlie Taylor, and I'm a bit worried. I don't know whether to start him or Mitchell.
It's either it ends in a boring 0-0 or West Brom concede 3 goals again, and also Burnley. So Wood and Pereira probably from that game will have a few differentials in there.
True.
Yeah.
Burnley striker is good as well. Yeah, you're right.
Let me get to a few questions so that I can allow you to go. My questions my first question is, which game do you think will have the most goals this weekend?
Oh man, this is unpredictable.
There's of course Everton against Liverpool, Chelsea, Southampton, City, Arsenal, Newcastle, Man U on Saturday, Sheffield, Fulham. Yeah.
Sorry, I've interrupted you there. I'll take a punt on Leicester, Aston Villa. Because it's easy to say because Villa scored 7. I know they're not going to score 7 every week, but they look good going forward, as do Leicester. Leicester look good going forward, and Leicester don't look good at the back. Castagna and Justin bombing forward. That could be a high-scoring game. That could be like a 3-3 or something.
What if they actually do go and win 7-2 again? Would you bring in 3 of the assets in the next game week?
Who have they got in the next game week? Oh, Leeds at home, probably, mate.
Leeds at home. And then another question: 3 players will definitely score this weekend.
Okay. Well, whilst I think about that, who do you think will be the high-scoring game? And I'll quickly think about it.
I have my predictions here, and I had Leeds versus Wolves to end in a 3-2. So Leeds against Wolves, I can see goals. Jimenez, Bamford all getting goals here. This is a cracking game. I can't wait for this game. This is the kind of game I'd actually pay £15 to watch on BT Sport if I was in UK. So this is the kind of game I'd actually pay to watch. So Leeds and Wolves definitely. And maybe I'm hoping not City and Arsenal. I'm hoping for a boring 1-0 win in that game. So Leeds against Wolves.
I hope so, mate. I've got Jimenez. So, I mean, would you captain Jimenez out of De Bruyne, Salah, and Jimenez this week, out of interest?
No, not away to Leeds. Probably not. Okay. Not away to Leeds because Leeds' defense is not that good, but I don't really think so. I've never really had the guts to captain Jimenez at all. Never. Never. They usually actually don't score that many goals. Usually 1-0s and 2-1. So definitely not for them.
Okay, so the players I think will definitely score. We keep saying them, but I'm going to say Kane. Yeah. He loves scoring in London derbies, providing, obviously England play tonight, so he's got to stay fit. I don't know if he's starting tonight. I haven't looked at the team sheets, but there was a bit of a muscle problem, wasn't there? So if there's a problem there, I'll go Son instead. Who else? I'm going to say Sterling at home to Arsenal. And sorry, Glenn.
That's a painful one again.
I'm gonna probably Calvert-Lewin. Calvert-Lewin probably.
No one from the Chelsea Southampton game.
Well, I've got Werner, but I don't know. I'm just not feeling very hopeful.
I can actually see, to answer your question, I can see Kane is starting up front with Rashford. So
interesting. That'll be decisive in your wildcard then, if providing he stays fit and stuff. So
I got 3 more questions from Twitter. Someone asked Werner or Havertz if you're to bring a Chelsea player.
Wow, if you're to bring one in, that's tough. I still think Werner from the 2. I know he hasn't returned as much as Havertz, but I'm just not fancying Havertz personally. I think the midfield options are a lot better out there. I know there's a lot better forward options for Werner too, but I still think he's looked the more promising. But that's a tough one. I can't imagine bringing either of them in right now. But probably Werner from the 2. What about yourself?
probably Werner too. Havertz. I was watching the Germany game yesterday, and both of them looked very good, very, very different from what they've been playing at Chelsea.
Yeah.
So it was so surprising. I was actually tempted, but Werner, I think, is also on like 2 or 3 penalties this season, so I'd probably go for him. 90 minutes, will any of them play 90 minutes? ZH is almost back, I think. So for me, I wouldn't bring any Chelsea players, but if I'm forced, I'd bring on Werner. Someone asks, Vardy against Aston Villa or Kane against West Ham?
I love both options. They're both reliable, both on penalties. I would have to go Kane. I know we keep talking about him, but Villa have been good defensively, and Spurs just look on it at the moment. And it's a London derby that Kane likes to score in. It's a tough one, but I would go Kane.
And the last one, which kindly ask Brett, which team should I avoid from now till the end of the season? If you had to avoid one team.
To the end of the season, I would say, this sounds like a bit of a cheating answer, but I would say you shouldn't avoid any team until the end of the season, because you should always stay open-minded to how things can change. So, argue that United are easy to avoid right now, or Burnley or someone like that. But things can change, form can change. And then, you don't want to rule yourself out of anyone in this game. If I had to pick a team, probably say Fulham or West Brom. Probably Fulham.
I'd say Fulham too.
Yeah, just another Mitrovic, who even him, he's not getting much service apart from just hoofing the ball in the box. There's nobody there offering anything really, and defensively they look quite bad as well. So
I'd also say Fulham. Someone asks here, non-related FPL question. Ask FPL TV, is it so much pressure? I think he meant like too much pressure to have more than 100,000 subscribers and create FPL content. I think we were just talking about that early on.
It is, mate. Yeah. Thanks for asking that. 100%, mate. And I don't want to make excuses for me doing poorly, but I'm someone that has massively felt the pressure. I could never have expected the channel to do as well as it has. And sometimes you so badly want to do well because you've got so many people viewing your videos and so many eyes on you that you just ultimately put more pressure on yourself to do well. And I panic sometimes, and it's hard to make moves because you think, well, what will the viewers think if I make this move? Is it a bit too out there? Should I go more template because everyone else is doing that? Or should I make moves that is what is expected of the viewers, And it is a lot of pressure, mate, and I don't enjoy that part of it for sure. It was much easier because when you're playing FPL, if you're doing badly but no one knows about it, it doesn't matter as much. But when I've got to make videos every week and my team is doing so poorly, it's a privilege to have so many followers. I'm in a very lucky position, but at the same time, the pressure does get to me for sure.
Awesome, man. I really appreciate you coming on. Of course, you can, apart from Twitter and YouTube, of course, you can follow him at FPL TV. Anywhere else, they can follow you.
Cheers, Glenn. No, thanks for having me on, mate. I hope I've been helpful and not blabbed on too much. But it's been a pleasure, and I hope I've been a good guest.
You have, man. Anyone who's still watching, I've been watching FPL TV since 2018, so it's an honor to actually do a video with him. So I really appreciate it. And we are still going to watch it, even though whether you're 5 million or 1 million, still the best content. And that's why you're the 2019 best FPL content creator. So I appreciate you a lot. I know you have another show in like 20 minutes, so I really appreciate you coming on. Thanks to everyone who came on the chat and everyone who was watching. In case you want to join my FPL league, the direct link is in the description, and that's the code to it. The games are back on Saturday, 4 games on Saturday, 4 games on Sunday, and another 2 on Monday. Some really good games. Who will you pick for your captaincy? Let's wait and see. As of now, thanks for watching. Keep staying safe, and I'll catch up with you guys later.